Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Reed. Hall will not be joining us this evening. He has family matters to get to, and nobody's holding that against him, especially after last night's bad loss, 40-20. That being said, the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listofrederick.com. And to talk about last night's loss to the Chicago Bears, falling to 2-3. The title of this episode is The Bare Minimum. I felt like that was the bare minimum effort in that first half. Callow, how did they go down 27-3?
Unprepared is the first word I would use in this one. I was baffled from that first drive on how you don't cover their one wide receiver or make sure he's doubled. And then when they go to throw to him and they miss the throw, they go right back to it and you weren't prepared. So I say unprepared is what I would say, how they got down so fast. I would also just say effort too. Not enough of it.
Agreed.
That was a team last night with the Bears that they were way more desperate than you were. And I'm baffled about it because all I heard about Sunday when they lost to the Eagles was how pissed off that locker room was, how mad they were that they lost. They were not doing any of that moral victory crap. They were doing the whole, we should have beat them. We beat them last year. And then you come back 4 days later and look like that. I go unprepared and not enough effort. That's how they did it.
Yeah, and Mike, one of the most concerning things to me from last night's loss was Leno's comments after the game, kind of questioning the offensive scheme and the plays that they're calling because he's trying to protect Sam Howell. I would imagine EB is too. That's why he's giving him these passing plays to help him later on down the road. But I think that's a big concern, to hearing those type of comments after week 5.
Oh, 100%, especially after really, when you look at it, Bieniemy was the crown jewel of the offseason, right? They didn't get any crazy free agents. Bieniemy was besides Josh Harris, right? Like that goes without saying. But like Bieniemy was the whole oh, okay, we got a real offensive coordinator here. This is starting in week 5. Like, I'm with you. Not great. And look at last year, just to compare it, stuff didn't start slipping out with Scott Turner until 13, 14 weeks in, when I think it was Logan Thomas's wife was the first one to mention something. And then everyone started talking to the Washington Post, and what happens from there. Yeah, 100%. It's concerning. And look, I think you have to rewind to the to training camp, where we started hearing those rumblings from players where they were getting overworked. Now how this works in this league. If you're overworked and it's not working, that's a powder keg ready to blow. So I'm with you. Like, it's definitely really concerning.
Right. And the big talk after this game, I feel like, has to be on Ron Rivera and everything that he doesn't do. Does he come across kind of checked out to you? Like listening to him talk afterwards, hearing what he said about he didn't talk to the guys in the locker room, like he's not really running the offense, he's not running the defense. It's like, so what are you kind of doing? Like, is he just kind of a spot holder right now? Does he know that and he's just kind of over it? Because I kind of get that vibe.
Yeah, like I heard McAfee mention that today, because I saw that was kind of the clip of that checked out. Yeah, that he said that as well. I don't get that vibe with Ron. I think Ron, just when something's happening, he knows he can't really change it in the moment, because he just doesn't seem like the type of guy that would tap out like that. Like, Ron, you can say a lot of things about Ron.
Dude.
Yeah. And maybe he feels the writing is on the wall. Maybe that's a different kind of thing. But Harris never said anything bad about him, always said he was going to give him a chance this year. Yeah. Having 1 year left on his contract honestly helps him, in my opinion. If they don't have a coach they like, I could see him sticking around. But checked out, I don't buy that with him. I just think when it's 27-3 at half, you kind of just know you're out of the game at that point.
That's true. Yeah, they're grown men. What can he really say? They know.
Yeah,
they know what they're not doing.
We've all had a crappy day at work, and then not had have a supervisor come ask you questions. You're like, I messed up. What do you want me to say? Right? Like, I think that's pretty much what we were at with yesterday.
Yeah, and it's almost like after a loss like this, it's almost like Office Space with the TPS reports. You have so many people coming up to you saying, "Hey, man, do you know this happened? You need to fix that." Like, I know, man, I know. But that was another thing that was really glaring to me, because I remember on Wednesday, Callow, that Rivera said that practice this week was great, and it was similar to Wednesday of last week. And then seeing the performance on Thursday night, it's almost, and with the effort to your point, because that's kind of my viewpoint. And branching off into my question, Emanuel Forbes got benched in this game. I've seen both sides of the spectrum, people saying that you shouldn't do that to the man's confidence and you're putting him in the wrong positions and stuff. But what's going on with Emanuel Forbes?
Man, this is a bigger problem than just him. It's the whole draft class. I had a tweet last night that not a single one of their draft picks is contributing right now. Forbes is playing here and there, but he's clearly not playing like a first round pick, right? Like you don't sub a number one pick corner in and out of the game like they were doing. And I get it. He was exposed against AJ Brown, but why is he on AJ Brown, right? Like, so just to rewind it to that game, then get us to last night. Same thing. They're subbing him in now, and they clearly see that he's a problem. Well, then you're playing Danny Johnson. Like, I don't know, man. I'd rather just have Forbes kind of figure it out at that point. And I know Rivera would have been questioned on that, but right now it just feels like they reached for a player that they thought they would give that would give them turnovers, and then they kind of forgot young players have to develop a little bit too. And I think this generation of corners were a little spoiled. Like, look at Sauce. Sauce went right in, slotted right in as a starter, was a beast, right? Not everybody is him. And then you look at Forbes, they were like railing on his technique all training camp long. He talked about it last night. Clearly, it's not up to speed what they want. And, you know, not to use like a corner analogy, they left him on an island and he can't fend for himself because he's so small, right? I agree with you. It is definitely more on the coaches than Forbes. When he was drafted, how many of us were like, you better be helping tackle because he's not going to be able to tackle guys by himself. So for me, I think they're relying on him a little too much. And now they have to pull it back, and they should be the ones answering those questions, not Forbes. I think everyone's kind of understood that, but it kind of breaks his confidence a little bit as a young guy because you're a first overall pick and you're hearing the noise like we're talking about right now that you don't belong in this league, essentially, at least right at this point in time.
We'll go to their defense and meaning of the coaching staff with Emanuel Forbes, because personally I rewatched a game twice today, and there's a lot of run fits, a lot of stuff where it's just like that effort that we talked about is not there. And I've seen Emanuel Forbes put effort into it, and so what
First
I'm seeing,
two games he was a dog.
Yeah, what I'm seeing in this, it's very different and it's weird to me. It doesn't sit right because it just feels like everyone is on their own thing, and that's not a good thing to see. But now we are joined by our guest co-host, Mr. Steve Lim, the Command This podcast. What's up, Steve? Do you have a question prepared for Mr. Callow?
I do. So Mr. Callow,
what's happening?
So in your opinion, is the sky falling? Or is this just a temporary setback? It's a week-to-week league. I think we're all looking in the now. We're not, we're 2-3. Is the sky falling, or we have time to rebound with these next 5 games against some questionable opponents? But I'm not questioning any opponents moving forward.
Sky falling is strong, but I would say the sirens are going off in the background, and you need to start taking cover right now. Like, I said this when they lost to the Bills a couple weeks ago to Bram on our show on ESPN 630, that I wasn't mad about the Bills loss. I was just disappointed, but I wasn't mad about it. But I was saying there's a path here that they could get right back on track, or things could get really ugly really fast because no one expected them to beat the Eagles. Then you're going to get the Bears on Thursday night, and you should beat them. And then I was looking towards the next 2 weeks. You get the Falcons in Atlanta. It's a road game. You don't know what's going to happen on the road. And then you get the Giants. I didn't say that they were going to have a 5-6 game losing streak, but here we are. We're staring that possibility in the face because of this loss to the Bears. So, like I said, I think the sirens are going off. They're not quite falling for me. And I will say this, and I'm sick of bringing it up. Rivera usually has this team ready to go mid-season. I'm sick of saying that, but it's true.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we actually got the 2 wins early on, obviously, because we'd all be panicking if it was even worse than this, Mike. But my next question for you, Rivera today said there's going to be no changes coaching-wise to anybody that has dealt with that game last night. Your opinion on that, do you think that's the right move?
Yeah, I mean, I know people want heads to roll after a loss like that from last night, but I don't know what benefit it does to the team. I think realistically, you look at the coaches that are there, there's no one that screams to me that like, hey, you get rid of this dude 5 weeks in, bring someone else in, or elevate somebody that it fixes anything. I know it's what everyone wants, but I especially in this business too, where I talk about this every single year with a bunch of different teams. It's like, what else is out there that you're going to hire that's going to fix this and turn this around? Especially it's not. Your best chance is to just kind of roll with the people that you have right now. I know people want to fire Del Rio, but like, I think the other part of this as well is they're giving this coaching staff a chance. Why try to shake it up when you know probably realistically a lot of these guys might be moving on at the end of the year anyways? I think as long as Rivera stays, they're not going to make any midseason changes. It's not his style.
Right. And now, since I'm a glass half full kind of guy, except for in this situation, because I'm super depressed as I'm allowed to be, and I'm very emo about this. I've been
feel so those feelings. You're allowed.
Yeah, I know. I kind of like it in a way because it helps me know that I can still feel things because I've been kind of like numb to everything. But one person who stood out was Chase Young. Chase Young showed up. Nobody can deny that. Chase Young played fantastic. He's done a good job so far in this contract year. What did you see from him, and is that at least encouraging?
Yeah, I mean, encouraging, definitely. I think he was the PFF #1 player of the game, at least defensively.
11 pressures,
yeah. I mean, he was awesome. Yeah, he was awesome all night long. He was getting in Fields' face. I mean, it seemed like every single play, and they need more of that. But there's a part of me that also goes, if you're not interested in re-signing him and someone needs an edge rusher, like, I think you might need to explore getting what you can for him. I know the draft rumors were, rampant all summer. It's definitely encouraging, but I'll turn and ask you guys a question only because I've heard Ron talk about him so much. Do you think Ron's interested in re-signing him, or do you think this front office is interested in re-signing him? Because I'm getting the vibes that they like Sweat a little bit more and they declined the option. I almost think you kind of sell on him right now because he's playing so well, and maybe somebody dangles a mid-round pick for it. It's encouraging, but I still don't know if they're going to end up re-signing him anyways.
Right. So the thing with that, I do think they kind of edge towards Montez, but like if they wait until the end of the year, are they even going to be here? Like, as any other coaches that would watch Chase play, are they going to be like, we got to keep him? Josh Harris up there seeing Chase ball out, the only person.
Right, and that's the argument on the other side of it, is saying, why would they, when they can just say, hey, look, let's just see what we can this year. Hopefully it helps us win some games that we can be retained, because what's the point of getting those picks if you're going to be gone at the end of the year anyway? But that's where the discrepancy of the GM and everything like that comes in. But to wrap this up, Mike, only have a couple more questions for you, sir. Sam Howell, how was his? What did you take of his performance last night? He was 37 of 51, 388 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had that one interception that he threw to Curtis Samuel, was late on it. That being said, they threw 55 times straight in the second half. I think you said that was a record earlier. Talk about his performance in this football game.
I mean, once again, I liked what I saw from Sam. I think a really, I wouldn't solid is selling him short. I think a good outing from Sam, given the circumstances, right? They were down from the jump. This offensive line has been giving him a little bit more time these past 2 games. It wasn't amazing by any means last night, don't get me wrong. And then also, I look at the end of the game, how he gutted out the rest of that quarter. For some reason, this coaching staff can't just like let a game end. They call the timeouts. They keep passing the ball. Like, they couldn't just hand it off to Gibson or Robinson a few times. They kept putting him back there, and he got crushed a few times at the end. I would say good outing from Sam. Not great because of the one interception at the second half. I mean, that really took the wind out of the sails, especially in the stadium last night. Like I joked, that's when me and my seatmates pretty much ended up leaving, after they scored, of course. But good outing once again. And, building off of Sunday, where I think was his best game as an NFL starter, I'm at peace with how he's looked so far. He is far from their biggest problem. And I think moving forward, like, I just keep building positives like he did yesterday. I really like his game from yesterday.
Those runs too, keeping those 2 plays alive, that was impressive, man. Him staying on his feet, breaking tackles, just kept going. It was like, all right, Sam, you little alpha dog.
Taking huge hits, though, is not the move. Next question I have.
Yeah, but at this point, who cares? Season's over.
No, you're absolutely right. But the reason why I want to ask you this, because I think it's very important. We talked about this before we started recording. I have more questions now after week 5 than I did going into week 1. And so, because usually the whole theory is that by week 4, you have an identity for your football team. Question to you, Mike, what is the identity of this football team?
Oh, God.
I don't go with this negative, but the identity is slow starts. I mean, that's we're in for a comeback win
Yeah.
every week, it seems, unfortunately. I would love for their identity to be Brian Robinson. For whatever reason, over the last 3 weeks, they have just not, and I know the score has dictated it in some cases, but they just have not used him as much. And I should take that back. They used him in the Eagles game, and look what happened. They went toe-to-toe with a contender, right? I would love to say that it's running the football. It is not. Right now, it's Sam dropping back and kind of seeing what he can do and put the team on his back. That's what it is, because I would love to say it's the defense, but the defense is just utterly failing this team right now. And so slow starts and Sam Howell. I mean, that's their identity right now, unfortunately. And I just think for the first 5 weeks of the season, that is so unfortunate. I didn't see it happening like this through the first month or so.
No, I don't think many did. But last question I have for you, Mike, before you get out of here, how can they turn it around?
The defense has got to start playing better. And you know who that starts? And I know we as fans and we as media love certain guys, but right now, John Allen and Daron Payne are disappointing. I think those are the two guys I turn around to right now that over these last 3 weeks, because it hasn't been the whole season. I totally get it. But these last 3 weeks, they have not been impact players. Look at the first 2 weeks. Look at that Broncos game where Payne had probably the best game of his career, right? He flipped the game by himself. And it starts with those guys. And what happened last night? They were not effective. They were running the ball at them, which was shocking to me. They were running the ball at our two best players on defense. And those two need to pick it up for this defense to have a chance at the end of the day. I look at the last 3 weeks where they have lost. Go to the Bills game where Ron said out loud, Josh Allen was in the defense's head.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens, with the defensive line. And then you look at last week against the Eagles, everyone put in a good effort, but you still gave up over 30 points again. And I didn't like the impact. And I get it. Allen had a sack last night, but we need more from those two guys. If you're investing in the D-line, they need to be the ones to be performing the best.
I agree
Also, so real fast, that brings up a question. I know you got to get out of here, but remember before the Bills game, Josh Allen said that he was like that they're one of the best units of defensive line in all football. We got to just try to do what we can. Do you think that maybe they just opened up a can of worms and all of a sudden like teams have kind of figuring out how to run plays against them and kind of how to make them non-existent?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the defensive line has been the identity of this team for 4 years, right? So it's like, it's not a secret, but I will say this. I saw a quote from someone, it might have been like Mike Sando or another NFL reporter, where teams are starting to learn now when you have these athletic defensive linemen, if you just start drop back passing and doing quick passes, they get bored. And all of a sudden, like they'll still play hard, but it starts to get a rhythm with them where they just for some reason don't get in the right headspace because they can't get sacks anymore, right? Or they start running the ball and all of a sudden they're off kilter essentially, right? So the only thing I can think of is essentially maybe it's the whole league that you start kind of getting some of these guys, running laterally instead of up and down, and all of a sudden you've negated an entire defensive line. I think Allen's a mobile quarterback, and I think we're playing a mobile quarterback like every week these days, and maybe that has a little bit more to do with it. But yeah, I don't think there's a secret that this is, their strength, and I don't know what they were doing differently than other teams.
You're absolutely right, because that's what one of my keys against the Eagles was against Jalen and then Jordan Davis was moving them side to side, get those boys tired, then you hit them in the face. Callow, I can't thank you enough for joining us on this very, it's a Friday, but it doesn't seem like a very happy Friday. I kind of forgot about it, but I can't thank you enough for joining us. If you'd just like to plug your social media handle, just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet or would like to, plus your show.
Sure. At Mike_Callow. That's CALLOW. I'm the producer of the Bram Weinstein Show. Bram, of course, is the voice of the team. So I always implore everybody to listen to us on ESPN 630, especially on Fridays, where Bram has spoken to people with the team. He will tell you the vibes of the building. He will tell you kind of what the game plan is without saying it directly. So a lot of inside info. Always make sure to check us out. But give us a follow at Mike_Callow and at ESPN 630 DC.
Thank you, Callow. Can't thank you enough, brother. We wanted a therapy episode. We wanted to bring on a friend, and of course we did. You came through for us, brother. Have a good evening.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me, as always.
All right, brother. Have a good one. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Mike Callow. Beautiful voice. Beautiful man. I don't want to say
beautiful voice, beautiful hat collection.
Yeah. I really like his hat game. Hey, Steve, I know that you weren't able to talk all that much, brother. Thank you for joining us for this episode, standing in for Hall. We really do appreciate it because Hall is so important to our show that we could not be without that extra weight there. So I'm glad that we were able to get you on here for the episode. I know that you went to the game last night, didn't you?
Me and Kyle would not. Yeah,
I'll be Hall on a stick, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to fall asleep and then forget what the question is. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. But, boys, before we get into our questions and reactions from the game last night, I'm not going to do game beers. I don't think anybody deserves game beers, but gassers. Who's running gassers, Steve? One player.
Let's see here. Running gassers.
Got about
I'm
53
gonna
guys to
say,
choose from.
yeah, but for me, I like to focus more on offensive and I'm gonna say Nick Gates, man. I don't know if you guys saw the whiff he made.
Yeah.
I mean, the tush push is popular. We can't even get third and inches. He totally whiffed, and it was third and inches, and we couldn't get that first down. That was pivotal. He's just consistently having some issues. So I'm gonna give mine to old Nick Gates.
Yeah, that was improper technique. When you have your momentum going forward and you're looking at your target, your hands are already up. Very easy to get you away. But if you are moving forward, head down, going straight, there's not a place for them to go to take over control. And it's unfortunate that this little small game of inches comes into play here. For me, personally, I think it's Emanuel Forbes. And I know everyone is giving him the benefit of the doubt. I really respect Darius Slay for coming out and saying, look, you're going to be great, young man. I was benched twice as a rookie, and I really appreciate him doing that for Emanuel Forbes. I think Emanuel Forbes does need that. But on the flip side of it, Emanuel Forbes needs to get his head out of his ass. And because what I'm seeing on film is not a lot of effort. And he's trying, and this is what I was telling everyone in the offseason. I don't need Emanuel Forbes to get interceptions. I just need you to play your wide receiver and smack that ball out of their hands. And I feel like that's kind of the issue with him at the moment is he's trying to jump things. He's not playing the system. In the run game, there was that one huge Khalil Herbert run where he's over top and he has to come make the tackle, whiffs on the tackle. There's another one where on the opposite side, that around the edge, he gets walloped by Darnell Wright, our guy that we wanted here.
Yep.
And he doesn't even give a good effort to slow Darnell Wright's progress down. Darnell Wright can continue going. It's really unfortunate where we are at right now with Emanuel Forbes because it's all effort in my personal opinion. And I know that he's a good kid. He just needs to get back to work because look at Kirk Cousins, one of the most expensive quarterbacks out there right now. Kirk Cousins got benched by Jay Gruden. And guess what Kirk Cousins did? He didn't go making excuses. He didn't go blaming his coaching or saying that the system sucks. He went and started working with the quarterback coach and refining his technique, getting back to the basics, kind of just working towards getting that confidence back. And that's what I think Emanuel Forbes needs to do. So don't beat yourself up. You still have a long way to go, but it's just like it almost seems like there's just a disconnect in effort here, and it's insane to me.
I wouldn't care even if we got a little bit of the young D'Angelo Hall type of play, or even the early Trevon Diggs, where you're actually gambling more and it's not working, going for that home run ball. I would even take that as opposed to getting burned on double moves and just getting exploited, on the sidelines. It seems like more so than ever. So yeah, I'm with you, Kyle.
Yeah, honestly, Emanuel Forbes didn't give up all those touchdowns, obviously. The one DJ Moore catch, that was a beautiful ball by Fields in the corner of the end zone. DJ Moore toe tapped it. That's not really on Kendall, but like the big plays and the first touchdown, I don't know what was happening there because it seems like they're in cover two and Kendall tries to get back quick enough, but they had a seam route on that side to Percy Butler, so he couldn't go too far outside because that inside guy was there. It seemed like good scheming, and my biggest issue with the defense last night, it seemed like a lot of it was scheme-based. A lot of the big runs is coming off of a twist, off a stunt, and that's where they run the football, open, wide lane. I'm still not
coaching.
over the loss.
That's coaching right there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I also think it's bad luck, though. I will put that in there. It just seems like bad freaking luck.
Yeah, it is also kind of funny to think that, like, if say me and Emanuel Forbes are both cops, and I'm getting ready to go get the bad guy, and I say, Emanuel Forbes, cover me. All that bad guy's gonna have to do is run a double move, and all of a sudden, I'm a sitting duck. I can't do anything about it because of that. But I'm gonna go with Jack Del Rio. Jack, go run some gassers into the Capitol and back out, dude. Everything's gonna be all right. Okay, just buckle down, get it together, stop, do better, do a better job coaching, getting these guys in line.
I'll add on to that. I think the linebackers deserve to be here. For a team to be able to run the football on 3rd and 7 on you on multiple times because they know that your linebackers, even though there's a wide open gap, when as a linebacker, if you see it a stretch play, right? Imagine it's a stretch play going like this, and you see a wide open hole. Your first thing is, I'm going through that. I'm going to meet the running back at that hole. Last night, multiple times I was 3rd and 7. That hole was there, but our linebackers are moving laterally. They're not moving at an angle to attack that hole. They're moving laterally. And then there's other play actions where they are so late to the actual play action that by the time that Fields hits his drop step, he hits his drop step before our guys stop pedaling backwards. And that one Cole Kmet first down that happened on. It's just it's really unfortunate what the heck is going on here, and I don't know how to explain it because I don't know.
Did you guys see the quote from Tevin Jenkins, the guard, where he was saying essentially they're just predictable, they were being lazy, and we were just able to exploit it. Stuff like that. And to me, I think a little bit of players, but the coaches have just got to pick up on that and put them in positions to be successful. We just didn't see it last night.
What I took from Tevin's comments there was on that cover 2 touchdown to DJ Moore, the first one. It seemed like somebody was late getting over to where they needed to go, and they knew and were expecting that, which is freaking unfortunate, man. Any more gassers you want to include, Steve?
Man, you guys hit the good ones. No, nothing in particular. I would say Eric Bieniemy, but running that, passing 55 times, I think at least you can throw a draw play in there, something, just mix it up. You got Gibson and you got Robinson back there. You can at least spell the quarterback, but by doing so, I think we saw that Sam can handle 55 straight dropbacks.
Yeah. Yes, he can. And they did a really good job in that second half, man. The missed field goal and the fumble by Logan. So Logan's getting a gasser, even though he had 9 receptions, 77 yards, and 1 touchdown, and he was the highest targeted receiver on the team. Blasphemy. Regardless, though, that fumble was crucial and really was a bad situation to happen. It was a 10-point game also when Joey Sly missed that field goal. I know he made a couple others, but Joey, you're going gassers too, man. I think everyone deserves it, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think anybody should feel good about what happened last night. They fought their way back, but the fact being is going down 27-3 was just pathetic in my personal. No disrespect to the Bears. They deserved it. They played their ass off. They played like they were ready, and we played like our boots were in mud, which is unfortunate. But, Steve, I want to go to our fan questions. This one's from the Colonel. He said, going into the 2023 season, the Commanders' defense was supposed to be a top-tier squad. They're now the second worst defense in the league, with only the Denver Broncos having more points scored against them, and that's with a 70-point loss to the Dolphins. Please help me understand why they're not remotely meeting preseason expectations.
I mean, to me, I've said this every year. We know that Jack Del Rio is a slow starter, right? Game 5, he figures it out. That shouldn't be acceptable, and that shouldn't just be the norm. But just start fast like everyone else does. So, to me, I'm not going to call him lazy, but I'm going to say he's still spoiled by having those 4 first-round picks on the line, and it possibly is causing a lack of creativity. I don't know how many times we blitzed yesterday, but I can guarantee it wasn't that many. And when they did, they seemed to pressure Justin Fields. So I think over the last couple of years, this front 4 was leading the NFL in pressures without blitzing, and I think they just figured it out to way to neutralize that. So you got to get creative. It's a cat and mouse game. You gotta get ahead to the next step. What that next step is, I don't know, but it's not rushing 4 and pulling people back.
You're absolutely right, Steve. I'll piggyback off of that. I noticed in the second half they started using the 5-man front more. The one player that has me scratching my head is Abdullah Anderson. He had a really good game coming out, but the past couple games has been atrocious. Just seeing him getting pushed off the ball, really hurting the situations. But the 5-man front in the second half really got after Justin Fields. That's when they started getting off the field, forcing punts in that second half. The defense and offense did what they were supposed to do in that second half, but they did not in the first, and that doesn't make it okay, obviously. But they did enough with that 5-man front to get there. But the thing is, they haven't been using that 5-man front because Chase is back. And so they're saying, we want to get that extra guy in the back end. The unfortunate part is your back end is not able to do what they're supposed to do. We can all talk about scheme. That's why these guys are one-on-one. This is the NFL. You're going to be one-on-one. If it's cover 3, you better be able to have that outside contain. You shouldn't need help over top. And that's what we're running into right now is
it's not physical ability. It's not.
We're trying to get home with 4, and not all the time is that working well for us.
Right.
And not on top of that, now offenses know that they can run at our 4 because our linebackers aren't ahead of the game. They're reactionary. They don't inflict their will. They take your will. And
I think it's linebackers too. Like you said, we didn't invest in a linebacker in the draft. Why? Because we said, oh, our base is usually a nickel. It's or you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like people have figured that out, and Cody Barton just doesn't seem like he's the answer. I think that's pretty obvious and clear.
And I'm gonna be frankly honest with you. I have been a big supporter of Jamin, but at this point,
I love Jamin.
Jamin is not playing like he's supposed to, that he's capable of. I know that there's times he does well and other times he does well tracing and stuff, but diagnosing run plays obviously has been hard for him, but he hasn't made any progress in that regard, in my personal opinion. And getting off blocks. If Jamin has a free lane, he might make that play. If he's got a body on him, he's not getting off of it. And we cannot continue to depend on our secondary or DBs to come up and make tackles at the second level, which has seemed to be a constant theme in these first couple games. So they better get their ass in check. What about you, Reed?
I don't even remember the question. James keeps bringing me trains and having me say the color of them.
That's awesome.
I'm not going to turn them down.
Please help the Colonel understand why they're not remotely meeting the preseason expectations.
Dude, your guess is as good as mine right now. This is just, it's getting embarrassing. Like, this should be top 3 defense in the NFL, just from a talent level alone. Like, how much we've improved the secondary. We thought we improved the secondary during the offseason, having this D-line completely healthy, and the defense is severely underperformed. The offense has been in bad positions. The offense has done a decent job moving the ball, but it's just, I mean, you see some things and you're just like, Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson don't exist. We don't get the balls to our playmakers, and it's getting very, very frustrating on both sides of the ball. But I will say the defense, which is supposed to be our bread and butter, is just severely underperforming, and that's got to fall on somebody. And it's got to be Jack right now, man.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So same with Orange Crush in our Discord. But speaking of, let's go to our fan question Discord, Steve. This one is from Tim Towner. Thank you, brother. His question is the secondary struggling because we lost Chris Harris?
Well, like I was going to say earlier, physical ability just doesn't go away. We've seen these guys play at a very, very high level. And I would say, yes, they miss Chris Harris, obviously, but I personally don't know the intermingling or interconnected role that Chris Harris had over what the scheme that Jack Del Rio is using. So clearly I'll just say yes, because I don't know any better. But when you get some new parts to any organization, you have forming, storming, norming, performing. That's just how you form a new organization. I don't know if the addition of Emanuel Forbes has created that. Where now you have a hot first round pick on the chart, and then he gets all the hype, but now he's sitting at cornerback 3 behind St. Juste and Kendall Fuller, and now he's not picking up his slack. So yeah, I think they miss Chris Harris. I don't know if he's available to come back. I think he's still in the Titans right now. So
he is. I do think that is because of Chris Harris. Chris Harris, obviously we all remember him coming over. Do you still love football? And that's sort of the kind of thing that was needed to be said to Forbes going against the Eagles. So that kind of Eric Bieniemy mindset of Chris Harris, I think, has had everybody take a step back. And that's the unfortunate part, is not everyone is on the same page. We're seeing similar things that we saw with William Jackson III here, similar things we saw with Landon Collins when he was here. And it takes him a while to adjust. Sometimes it takes him too long. I do think Chris Harris was a major loss for this defense. I'm not going to lose all hope, but I think in the scheme of quick production from a rookie, a young man's perspective, I think if we had Chris Harris as a coach still on the secondary, I think we'd be seeing a better Emanuel Forbes, if that makes sense, Tim.
And probably a better Percy Butler too, I think.
Oh yeah,
because he's having some rough spots as well.
And Derek Forrest.
Better everybody, man. Last night, nobody was good. Nobody in the secondary was that good last night.
And Benjamin St. Juste had his. He got taken.
Yeah.
The one play that really irks me, Mike, really irks me, is that 3rd and 2 that he threw, and it was an incomplete, and that ball hit Benjamin St. Juste in the side, in the ribs. If he turns his head, that's a pick 6 all day long. It's a quick, shallow 3rd and 2 out route. Any other team, if that guy looks, he's cutting that angle, and he's taking that ball to the house. And that would have made it 27-30. And so it's like those small, like the fumbles, those small little mistakes, those small little misses really are huge in the grand scheme of things.
Just remember that when you are Canadian and your head flaps open, it is hard to turn it around while you're on the field.
That's right.
That happened with Terrence and Phillip as well.
That's right.
So.
Blame Canada.
Yeah.
You're stupid. All right, now this next question is from Deluxe. Reed, do you think it's possible that Ron takes control of the defense?
I mean, honestly, that's a good question because, like, if Jack Del Rio is gone here soon, who else do you feel comfortable going in there and calling those plays and calling the shots? Ron, I mean, look, a lot of people can say what they will about him as a head coach. Ron is a proven defensive coordinator. Ron's done a fantastic. That's why he became a head coach, because Ron was very well respected as a defensive coordinator. He did a great job with the Chargers before he became head coach of the Panthers. So I would imagine that he would almost have to, especially like Chris Harris would have been the logical guy next if he was still here. But since he's gone, like we just talked about, I guess he would almost have to, which is like, what else are you doing, Ron? You know, what else you got going on? So.
Yeah, now before we get into our next question, this is from Jeff Miles, and he had a statement that he wanted to make, and this is a really good one. He said, but the team wanted people there, aka FedEx Field. They wanted fans in the stands. Well, it's been sold out every home game, and the Bills effed us, and the Bears dropped 40 easy on us, winning by 20. No more excuses. ATL should be for Ron and JDR's job. I'm not going to say that you're wrong for thinking that way, because I'm right there with you, because I kind of equated this, Jeff, to Carson Wentz last year against the Browns. You know, that was his point to say to other teams, or this team to say, yeah, you can trust me to be your quarterback. And then he comes out there and falls flat on his face, you know, just blew it out of the, and that's what I kind of feel with this game, where national television, Thursday night football, Magic's watching, Josh is in the house, and that happened.
That was the other thing. It's so frustrating because, like, the first 2 weeks of the season, you're 2-0. You mounted a fantastic comeback, really in both games, but especially against the Broncos. All of a sudden, you lose to the Bills. You get beat pretty bad, but you're like, all right, that's the Bills. That started their stride. We saw what they did to Miami last week. Is what it is. Then you take the Eagles, another Super Bowl contender, to overtime, and you're like, we lost. That sucks, but I mean, hey, we're 2-2. Then you got the Bears coming. All of a sudden, the wheels just completely fall off, and you get embarrassed, and the worst team in the NFL drops 40 on it. It's like, what the fuck is going on? What happened? How did we go from that to this? Like, how did we have so much hope, and now all of a sudden the worst game I have ever seen in my entire life was just played, and we're too talented? It's so weird. This is the weirdest season so far.
Yeah, OG said something. He was like, you know, Eberflus is playing for his job, and you know, I get it, but so is this coaching staff, in my personal opinion. You know, I don't think there's any differences there. What are you doing here? And I think that they need to get their heads out of their ass, stop feeling sorry for themselves, and get to freaking work. I don't want anyone going on vacation this weekend. I don't care how much of a dick that would make me. Nobody should be feeling okay with going on vacation right now. Get the hell back in there. Start working out. Watch the film and study. And Emanuel Forbes, I think he should study some other corners. Some bigger corners, maybe Richard Sherman and others. Just Antonio Cromartie, I think, would be somebody perfect for Emanuel Forbes to emulate and kind of learn and study from, because that's a big dude, a tall guy that made a lot of great plays happen. Now, this next
said D'Angelo Hall. That's a very good comparison for him, because you're going to get the turnover, or if you're going to get the turnovers, you're going to give up some yards. But D Hall was successful for a long time.
Yep. And now, Steve, this next question from Tim Towner. I think this was the best I ever saw Logan Thomas play. Did anyone else have a good game?
Did anyone else have a good game? Curtis Samuel.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I think he's been the most, unpopular opinion, I think he's been the most consistent wide receiver all season. And a lot of that is based on production. I'm not saying he's better than Terry, clearly. He's been the most consistent the whole season. So I would say Curtis Samuel had a great game with the amount of opportunities that he was provided.
Yeah, 6 receptions, 65 yards, 1 touchdown on 7 targets. I think that's a great one. Logan Thomas did have a great game. But the guy that stands out to me is Antonio Gibson. He didn't fumble. He had four receptions on 64 yards on 6 targets. But more importantly to me, it was the blitz pickups. When he had to come in and pass block, he actually did an incredible job, showed a lot of effort in that regard, and given with what the circumstances surrounding Antonio with the fumble issues and everything being said about him, the way that he was able to come out in that game and really help this football team do something, and not only just in the passing game, but also in protecting Sam, that's an effort thing. We've heard a lot of people say that, like Ryan Fowler, and I believe that too. And it's a lot of credit to Antonio Gibson. You know he tried his ass off last night. He didn't cough up the football. Credit to him.
So, yeah, obviously, I mean, are we just talking offense?
No.
Okay, because, I mean, obviously Chase, but somebody else who, like, he hasn't had a good season just straight up, but he didn't play terrible last night. It was Andrew Wiley. And I know it's the Bears pass rush. I know it's the Bears. They don't offer much, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they're still dumpster fire despite what you guys think, but Wiley didn't play terribly. Like, of course he has his moments. That's going to happen with Andrew Wiley. But when he didn't play terribly bad, which is maybe it's just because my expectations have been so low for him over the last few weeks, but he didn't play terrible. I was kind of impressed with him. Really, a lot of Leno at times too played all right. And then, he also had some plays where you're like, what are you doing? What's going on?
No, his comments after the game really pissed me off, and so I watched a lot of.
But that has nothing to do with his play on the field.
I understand. Yeah, I watched his play on the field, and honestly, I've been seeing it all season long.
Yeah,
it's lack of effort. I don't know.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
I can't tell you how many times there was just one toss. I don't want to sit here and complain. Okay, I'm just saying the way that he plays is not how I would coach my left tackle to play. Yeah. But that being said, let's go to our next question in the Discord chat server. And this one, obviously, we got it from Tim Towner. But I want to get your opinion on this, Steve. Our actual question this time. This is from Ty Mac. What would you do with Forbes? Does he need to sit games? He looks to have ability. How do they get him to put it together?
No, as much as the fans that want to see it, you need that experience. You need the reps. Okay, you got to go against these top wide receivers, take your licks, and you just keep on going. Being on the bench, I don't think that's going to help him at all. You can't keep talent like that on the sidelines, and the only way he's going to get better is just by getting those reps and take the bad with the good.
Right. I'm with you. What would I do with Forbes? Yeah. I would sit him down and just let him know it's not the end of the world. And I think that he holds himself to expectations based on a very immature mindset, where it's all based on talking crap, kind of like Madden. It's almost like the lobby of a Madden game. It's almost kind of what he's concerned with, and I'm getting cooked like by A.J. Brown. Who cares, dude? Let's win this football game. That's what's important. And I think that's where a lot of the things have been misconstrued here, because it's more so about how I can perform and show that I'm actually here, rather than what can I do to fit myself inside of this team and this defense to make sure that we're getting off the field. It seems like there is a ideologically, I don't know how to say it. There's an issue schematically in thought process and mental makeup at the moment, and I think a lot of people need to be sat down and asked if they really want to be here. I'm not speaking just to Emanuel Forbes, but he has a long way to go. We have a short time to get there for this team, but Emanuel Forbes has a long way to go. Just understand, it doesn't matter what you do when you have these type of games. People are going to say stuff about you, but at the end of the day, all that matters is you get the dub. Right. And as a team, take it with the L, and all you can say is, I'm going to continue to get better. If you take it seriously, you go into work every day saying, I need to get better. I don't ever want to have this happen again. That's when you'll start see some changes, and that's why I haven't seen any change in production or effort in that first half.
We can say, watch old bandit run, right?
Yep.
Good reference.
Obviously, yeah, you got to keep him on the field. I mean, they always say that the best thing for a cornerback to have is a short memory. So you just got to live play to play. That's really all you can do. And I understand it's got to be tough for him, man. Think about what we were hyping him up with all offseason, really this entire team, but especially Emanuel Forbes. It was like Emanuel Forbes is locking people down. Emanuel Forbes is getting picked. First 2 weeks of the season, he goes out there, he plays well. Then he got smacked in the face with reality a little bit. And he's got to remember, he went up against Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore last night, who's a talented wide receiver. Say what you will about him, but he's obviously super talented. So you got to get him out there, and he's got to play the game. And like Steve, he's going to learn eventually. Like, the only way you can get past this is reps. I think it's bad technique. I think it's all mental. I think that he jumps a lot of routes, obviously, and he got away with it in college because he was so fast, and the pick sixes were, they're churning out at a record rate. And you can't do that in the NFL. You can't do that against these guys. You see them get burned anytime there's a double move. So it's going to take some skills. You got to pick and choose when you're doing it. And he'll learn. He'll be there.
You're absolutely right. And the one thing I will say in regards to Emanuel Forbes with this whole sort of issue is that in college, you can make these sort of plays on the ball because the quarterbacks you're going against are not the same quarterbacks you're going in the NFL. In the NFL, it's not as when you are getting a possible interception thrown to you. If a quarterback is throwing a pass, right? If you think about a strike zone for baseball, in the NFL, they're throwing it on the dot exactly where the catcher wants to throw the football. In college, they're going to be more inaccurate, right? And so Emanuel Forbes is learning, or has to learn it quickly, that in the NFL, it's very rare that you're going to get those gimme interceptions like Russell Wilson threw to you. Very rare. You have to work at it, and you have to force that inaccuracy. You as a team have to force the quarterback in order to be inaccurate for you to get those chances. Otherwise, you have to be schematically sound and putting yourself in position to be there when that happens. Do not expect it to happen. And I think that's the big issue with Emanuel Forbes. Keeps thinking that things are going to be easier than they are, and they're not. You have to be smart.
To be fair, it does suck so bad when you go from this guy's the man, this guy's awesome, this guy's so good, he's going to be so good, and then all of a sudden, literally after one game, everybody's like, this guy sucks. Get him out of here.
They've been good their whole life. And being told that, right?
Yeah,
it's a reality check. It's what it is. Usually, that's a humbling experience, and just get better.
Yeah.
And that's what I was kind of saying earlier, that they're missing that kind of veteran leadership with Coach Harris, like kind of keeping them in check, saying, "Look, your shit actually stinks pretty bad." Okay,
I don't know your diet, but I guarantee it still smells like shit.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, Reed. Yeah. Now, this next question, thank you, Ty. That was great. That was awesome. This next question from Scott Hartley. Oi, thank you, Scott. This question is not sure where to start, but what do we have to pump the brakes on? Knee-jerk firings? Or do you think it's now the time to make a change and show the team no one is safe and give them the kick up the ass they need? Steve?
No, I don't think it's time to fire. I mean, looking at it from an ownership perspective, I think you just ride it out no matter what. Ron's a loyalty guy. I don't see him getting rid of his assistant head coach, Jack Del Rio. I mean, Scott Turner was just a coordinator.
He's the assistant to the assistant.
Yes. He's the Andy and the co-regional manager, I guess. Right. But I don't think you need to fire anyone. You just got to ride it out. And there's no need for drastic things yet. I mean, we're 2-3, right? I don't think the sky's falling. Yes, it's been terrible, but let's see how we do against this next stretch of Atlanta, New York, who's also a dumpster fire right now. Let's see how we are looking after those, and then maybe we come back to this question. But I wouldn't do anything right now whatsoever.
No, and it's funny because the Junkies talked about Josh Harris being in the suite, laughing. Like, how could you be laughing during the you know why? Do you really want to know why? Because he is doing what we all should have realized is what this season is, and that he's playing with house money. He just got the team. Dude. Whatever happens this season, happens. It's okay. It's not his stamp yet. So he's going to be chill. He's not like you, who has a vendetta to get people fired, because EB has been clamoring for Ron to be fired since last year after week 4 or 5, like a lot of people I see on my timeline today. I get it. Understand. I just don't think it's time for it. It doesn't make any sense at all to do it right now. People are talking about firing the front office and all the coaching staff. Who is going to come in here? Mm-hmm. And that's what Dan Snyder would do. Dan Snyder would buy this team, and with that kind of game, he'd fire the guy. That's not the kind of precedent we want to start. The fact is, Ron's getting paid. They just brought EB here. Give them the season. Let them play it out. Everyone needs to take a page out of Josh Harris's book. Laugh through the struggle, because it's not always going to be there, but just enjoy the moment for what it is. And I forgot one person I needed to give credit to for this game is Cameron Curl. I just thought of it right now. Yeah. Had second in team in tackles behind Cody Barton with 7. A lot of people have talked about Cam Curl, his game last night. He was great. He did his job.
Right. He's been very consistent this year. Another solid, consistent.
And he actually made tackles on Cole Kmet when he needed to. And that was not evident last night. Tackling was an obvious freaking issue.
Right. And another thing to add on to the Junkies thing, like, the fuck, dude, like, that's literally like telling somebody who just bought a yacht, don't smile on that yacht because there's starving kids out there. Okay. There's something depressing going on. You can't be smiling on the $1 billion purchase you just made. Who cares? It's fine. Also, didn't you not want the owner to be too invested in the team? You just wanted them to write checks and just stay out of everything. That's what the Junkies were clamoring for the entire time. We all were. I don't care. I don't want him too involved. I don't want him to make some knee-jerk reaction where he's like, all right, everybody's fired now because that was embarrassing. That's what a tyrant would do. That's what Napoleon Snyder would do, you know?
And I've heard
So, like,
people
get
say
outta
that,
here.
like, like this is the week that Josh Harris can be looking for coaching candidates or GM candidates, blah, blah, blah. Are we that naive to think that Josh Harris doesn't already have a damn list?
Exactly.
You really think that
Right.
he made a $6 billion bid without having an idea in mind of a backup scenario in case of what he needs to happen? You know what I mean? Come on.
I mean, unless the Falcons go out there and drop a hundo on us. Then
I mean,
like,
along those lines, Kyle, I also think he has someone who he knows is probably doing a roster evaluation for this team. Man, not say a GM, but someone just looking over the books.
Yeah, and this is what I told everyone about the owner change way back when. I said, you got to remember that the new guy coming in is not going to have the same relationship that Rivera and company have. So you like Terry, you like John Allen, Daron Payne, Montez Sweat, and all them. Well, there's a possibility they could not be here next year, given with what happens with this football team. So I would be kind of concerned about your mindset in that point. But to wrap this up, boys, our last question on Twitter from Tony Franchise. He said, I appreciate everything Ron has done for the organization, but is it time to move on from Ron based on a few things, the O-line becoming worst since he took over, time management issues, and too many times the team come out looking unprepared or with slow starts, Steve?
Do I think it's time for Ron to move on is the question?
Yes.
No, like I said earlier, kind of linked to the last one. I mean, stay the course, ride it out. It's a little bit early for that. Only 5 games in the season, 17 total. We got 12 games left. Let's take a look at that here in the next 3 games, see where we go. But nope, stay put.
I understand what everyone is saying about the O-line. It was one of my concerns when Rivera took over was that Carolina's O-line fell apart later on, and that was my kind of concern here because it was a strength here. That being said, Tony, I'll ask this question I asked the others. Yeah, we had a strong offensive line. We have been blessed with a strong offensive line for the past 20 or 23 years. We had Trent Williams. We had Chris Samuels. But I have to be brutally honest with you, brother. What did that do for us? How many playoff wins do we have? We had a strong offensive line. What did that do for us? Nothing. So let's just continue with this ship. We could talk all the crap that we want. Fact is, this is the best spot that we've been in the past 23 years because we have new ownership in here, and we actually have good structured players in place that just need to be put in the right direction, it seems. And obviously,
what I would do, Kyle, I'm sorry. What I would do though, if Eric Bieniemy, just make some faster developing plays to help out that offensive line. Because right now, if you look, I'm sure it's on the all 22. A lot of these pass plays, man, they're 10 yards. They're past the sticks. There's not a lot of options for Sam to get to in his third drop. He has to go 5, and the receivers aren't even out of their break yet, and the line is collapsing. So do a traditional West Coast offense where your pass is extension of the run. It's okay to do 5 yard like we did in the Arizona game and in the Broncos game. Keep that 5 yard window open more, and not necessarily everything so long. That's what I would do if I was in charge.
In his defense, and we were behind. We threw for 55 straight times. They knew we weren't running the ball. Yeah. They pinned their ears back, and I get why Charles Leno was saying that he is concerned for Howell's health. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think those comments were based out of concern over Howell's health. I think that was more concern over views of how he played, in my personal opinion, and that's what doesn't sit well with me is poking fingers and blaming from a team captain in week 5 after they just converted your salary to a signing bonus. And that's what we're going to do after week 5. It doesn't sit well with me. Yeah, what about you,
Ron
Reed?
thing? Yeah, the Ron thing. I know we've been called Ron simps over here on the Burgundies, and we've been big supporters of Ron. We love Ron. I think Ron is one of the great dudes in the NFL. No players have anything bad to say about Ron. It seems like that have played for him. I think he's emotionally, after last night, it's understandable a little bit that he's as down as he was. He did kind of seem checked out, and that's concerning. Is it time for him to walk away? Not yet. Unfortunately, I mean, I know a lot of you guys are going to say, I don't think he's ready to just be like, he doesn't want to go out like that. And so I would hope not, at least. So we're going to give him some time. If some things happen during the next 3 games or the next 3-5 games, then who knows what's going to happen. But I think you got to give Ron more of a benefit of the doubt. The one thing I will say is Ron not being Riverboat Ron this season has it's like, dude, like it's almost like a movie. It's like somebody's like walking into a room after hiking for like 7 days, and they just kick open the door, and then you just see this figure sitting in a chair smoking a cigarette, and they're like, Riverboat, and then he's like, that's a name I haven't heard in 20 years, and then he turns around and it's Ron Rivera, and you're like, it's just bring Riverboat Ron back, go play for the win, do whatever you got to do, man, take gambles, take chances. It's frustrating, but what are you gonna do?
It is frustrating. It really is. And look, I'm a big supporter of Ron. But the ref the district guys, their podcast, they came out with a stat today that only 15 times since Ron Rivera has taken over the Commanders that they have gone into the halftime with a lead. That's 75% of the time we're going into halftime down. That being said, context is needed because of the quarterback position, what we have dealt with there, the injuries, COVID, and everything like that. But the fact being is that cannot be a consistent way of getting success. And we also have to look context, because a lot of people are just throwing stuff out there just to support the argument of that this coaching staff needs to be fired. And I get it, because that's how everyone's feeling right now, but we have to be adults here at the same time.
Yeah, it's pretty weird too, because that's something we've all noticed about Ron. It's like, where it's like, well, the good thing is we're a second half team, but in some weeks it just doesn't work out. You get too far down, you get behind by too much, and that's frustrating. And it's like Ron is a good motivator. He's supposed to be. I mean, by all accounts, players say that he is. I don't know what happened last night, but like before every game, like we come out Callista Flockhart flat. And it's just like, what is going on? We come out like Taylor Swift, I
love flat. Ron, but I do have a big issue because he said, he doesn't talk to the team. The team does it themselves.
Yeah.
But he is very adamant in saying that this is a young football team. So my question to Ron is, how come in Carolina you were able to yell at those boys in the locker room to get them hyped up? But this team is too old for you to talk to them like that. But at the same time, in your post presser, you're saying how young of a team it is. So you have to be able to decide, do they need the help or do they not? And I think somebody needs to stand up with that help sooner or later, because things are falling off the rails. Your captains are talking shit and they're playing like shit, and it's not okay. This could fall off very quickly, and somebody needs to grab the thing. I know that they were on a short week. I get it. They just got off their overtime. They were probably tired. Fact is, so is the Chicago Bears playing off a short week. There are no goddamn excuses for that. Sorry for my French. Sorry for using the Lord's name in vain. I just hate the excuses. I'm pissed off right now. The Bills was okay. That was acceptable. That was a damn good football team. The Bears, good football team, but that's not acceptable to go down 27-3. That was piss poor. That was planning, execution. No one in that building can be pointing fingers at anybody else. They all need to get to work.
I will say Darnell Wright is a dog, though. Darnell Wright, him coming back, like watching him, just like, God damn, Kyle, you called that. You were like, I want Darnell Wright bad.
But had these games been closer, even the ones we lost, just consistently all the way through from start to finish?
Right. I mean, even
I don't think we'd be having half these conversations. It would just be, we just came up short, and that's okay. Not man, we're getting the break speed off of us, and all of a sudden we have to score 25 to win in one quarter. It's like,
I mean, even in the two wins, we were behind.
That's what I'm saying. If we just stay consistent from first quarter through the fourth, these are different conversations that we're having right now. We're just talking about how do we just get over the hump?
Right.
Not man. Now what do we do? We can't. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
if we're 2-3 and we weren't trailing huge to Denver, giving stuff up early, then it would be like, all right, well, we're close. We're gonna get there.
Be competitive.
One of my biggest issues is that this football team is very reactionary. They are not attacking. They are reacting to what is done to them, and it's continuously happened every single game, and that has to stop. At some point, when are we going to actually go at somebody and go at their damn neck and be successful at doing that?
Bite kneecaps.
Very timid football team. I love Ron. I love this organization. I love this football team with all my heart. I was pissed off last night. I will still be pissed off because the DeJuan Jones pick. I still feel this way. DeJuan Jones should have been selected here. I was a big fan of Darnell Wright. He went before we picked. But the fact that we got Braden Daniels, that sort of thing, not even on IR. DeJuan Jones is starting for the Browns, doing damn well. That's a massive oversight. And there is something gravely wrong.
The other thing is, how weird is it though? Like the one good thing that you could say, like the one saving grace with Ron, was like the draft classes were actually pretty good, dude. The draft classes, they did a great job finding guys late. I know it's only been 5 games and it's early. None of these guys are contributing. Nobody's doing much. Emanuel Forbes did the first 2 weeks. Other than that, you haven't got
this draft class. Like Sadiq is starting, Sam Cosmi is starting.
That's what I'm saying. From this This draft class.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like that's so weird and so frustrating. And it's like, I wonder what's going on. I wonder if they're just really not sold on Quan Martin yet. I know he was behind a little bit. But like that's kind of concerning, but it is still early. We do got to remember it was just week 5. So
you're absolutely right.
Week 4.
But look, they lost 40-20. They're 2-3, below 500. Not okay. That being said,
not the Giants.
They were 6 of 12 on third downs. They had 23 first downs after only having 2 in the first quarter. Obviously, they went ham on that, but they gave up 178 yards on the ground. The Bears were 3 of 6 in the red zone. Washington was 2 of 3, which is great. But defensively, this is not okay. They got to fix it up, and I'm sure that they will. But I don't want anyone going on vacation. I know I've already said that, but I don't care. Steve, I can't thank you enough for joining us on short notice, man. Being able to come on and help us carry this weight. I appreciate you as always, man.
Hey, I appreciate the opportunity, man. Always fun to chop it up with you guys.
But before we get out of here, just like to plug your show and your social media handle so they can come find that great wisdom and analysis.
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Twitter at Steve Lim _DC, or the show, Command This Podcast, Command _this on Twitter. Search for us, and there we will be.
Yeah, and Dev, Unfiltered Phil, also on their show as well. It's really good time. It's a lot of fun to be able to watch that show, so make sure you guys go and do that. All right, everybody, please enjoy your weekend. Try to, and the sky isn't falling. I know it seems that way. They played that way, but it's all right. Go with a smile on your face. Enjoy your weekend and know there's another chance next week. All right, everybody, I'm Kyle.
I don't even know who I am anymore, dude. I feel lost after that game. I don't know what I am.
You've been feeling that way since you were in high school.
Yeah,
all right,
dude,
everybody.
this is way
we'll see you on Monday.
This is like, I don't have normal emotions anymore. I'm depressed. I can't sleep. I can't eat.
Okay. All right, everybody. We'll see you later. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!